Hello everyone, I'm Alanah and welcome to my channel where today we are recording another Q&A for June. If you would like to ask any questions for next month's video in July, leave them in the comments section of this video. Also, my channel is sponsored by Keeps, which means we will hear more from them in the middle of the video instead of YouTube just randomly putting ads everywhere. So, the questions you had this month. Sci-Fi Saturdays said, what's something you love about America that you hate about Australia or vice versa? I love the coffee in Australia. It's very good. I also really like the Australian attitude. One of the things that really hit me when I first got to Australia 2 weeks ago at the start of quarantine was there was a police officer and then the general manager of this hotel. Basically, from the jump, were like, I'm fucking tired. It's been a long day. You guys are probably fucking tired on your flight. Here's the information. Just, I feel like nobody's performative, and I think Americans often find that kind of thing really rude or awkward or uncomfortable, where, you know, growing up in another country, to me, I find it so calming. People not giving a shit about me is very calming. Whereas in America, they're like, how are you guys doing? You're from out of town? No way, where are you from? What do you need? This is my favorite dish. I just prefer everybody to be a bit more low-key. Joe Farlong asked, have you pre-ordered Dying Light 2 yet? I did after watching a reaction video to the gameplay trailer. I've said this for years. Years and years and years. Don't pre-order video games. Get that for some people, it helps you pay it off in a better way, or it helps you budget. I totally respect that. But if you're in a position where that is not necessary, I don't understand why we keep giving people money before we have actually been able to see the product. We don't even know what we're buying and we're giving them money months in advance. I'm very anti-pre-order. Don't do it. Nick Urbas, what's your dream house? I like a lot of light and sun, so something with big windows. I like being near the ocean, and generally I like really open, not cluttered spaces. Couldn't be further from the tiny apartment that I have, which has no balcony and no like actual sun-facing windows, but one day we'll get there. Maybe, probably not. The real estate market is a fucking disaster, and this whole generation's just screwed, but it's great, it's fine. Jared asked, any big plans for you to still cover / talk about a lot of what's going on at E3 this year, even with you being busy with being back home / family / work and all? Yeah, so my plan for E3 is to cover basically everything that I can. If I can do one of the live streams, a lot of this will depend on my parents' internet. I will do one of those YouTube like event holder thingies, so that you'll see that there's a reminder for the live event, and then I will watch them live. Any that are during my work hours, because obviously work comes first, I will record at a later date. I'll do everyone live that I can, assuming I have good enough internet connection, or otherwise we'll catch up that night or the next day or whenever I have a free time. No, Spimmy99 said, in all parts of the games industry that you feel confident commenting on, gaming journalism, game development, etc., how much is it's who you know a thing? I would say it is the exact same degree as probably any other entertainment industry, where it is, you know, a lot of creative people in very large groups collaborating to make something extremely expensive. Yes, knowing people helps. However, in my experience at every company that I've worked at, every single one where I've been in part of a hiring process, which is Santa Monica Studio, Funhouse / Rooster Teeth, and at IGN, knowing someone and being able to recommend them, because it's not about being friends, it's about making sure that you're like, oh, this person would be good to work with. Oh, I know this person is good at this. I have worked with this person on this. I know this person is a good writer. I know this person is reliable. I know this person brings something valuable to the team because I know them. That can generally get someone an interview, but it will not get someone a job. So even if you get the interview based on recommendation, which is probably very common, you still have to go through like interviews with 20 people spanning generally several days, and every single person has to like you, especially if you're working on things that are really expensive, which is a lot of facets of the games industry, obviously entertainment industry as well, where one person who doesn't fit the team, who someone on the team doesn't like, who doesn't seem like they will bring everything needed could really hurt a project, then they're not going to get the job no matter who they're friends with on the team. So I would say, yeah, who you know will help you get an interview, but it will not help you get an actual job. There's just no way. There's too many people on too many teams who need to feel like you can do the job to make sure the whole company doesn't burn down because you're so important at these companies that there is no room for just like, we'll just hire this guy, whatever. I will say though, in the short film that I made, and also my awards show that I made, being the Video Game Accessibility Awards, for both of those, I did solely hire people I knew. The award show was a producer, a host, an editor, and a graphic designer. And all of them were people that I knew And the reason I hired them was not because I was like, I'm going to give my mate a job. It's because they were people that I knew could do the job that I needed them to do. I was positive that they could do that job. And I needed that, especially when I fully self-funded the show, same as the short film. So I'm not taking any risks, basically. It's also that it's more fun to work with friends on projects like that. So that's part of it too. I don't know that that would span my whole career. Like if I were a director at a game studio, I would not do that. Because you need the top talent, especially in AAA development. You need someone to be fucking perfect so that shit doesn't fall apart. You need to know that they are super experienced, and someone that you know personally might not fit that bill. Jamie Anson asked, how do you feel about Western video games making female characters less and less sexy over time? I don't necessarily feel like this has happened, but truthfully, I feel like there has been a rise in asking for realism, of consumers enjoying realism. And that's maybe the shift we're seeing, is as graphics get better, it is easier to make a more realistic looking woman, where previously proportions had to be more extreme to try to express something that appeared to be feminine with less pixels. I am a person who has always been very pro women being sexy in games. I am totally fine with sexualized female characters. I am totally fine with sexualized male characters. I am fine with a female character being half naked. People are allowed to be hot. And characters are allowed to be hot. We're allowed to be sexually attracted to things. So on the same token, because I don't care about that, I'm also completely fine with women not being sexualized in games, with women not being attractive in games, with not every woman needing to be attractive in games. I generally am for whatever you want to do. The only time it's ever bothered me is when female characters' personalities are entirely intended to be sexy, where their dialogue is entirely just sexual innuendo and they just hit on the main character constantly. It happens really frequently with villains, with female villains. And that's something that my whole life I've been like, shut up, you're not a real character. I wish you were more interesting and that you were less one-dimensional and not just read dialogue that's saying we would like you to be sexually attracted to this character. But yeah, not something I'd ever try to change, that I ever have tried to change or had any input on. But generally, yeah, my stance is, I don't know too much about this, but if I were to guess, it would be because of a recent strive for realism in both environments and in character design, that I feel like kind of have to move in the same direction at the same time, or it's strange if they don't. But if it means that you wrote a shit character who's really one-dimensional and uninteresting, I am gonna roll my eyes and then just go about my day, not make a Reddit thread or tweet about it, and ignore the thing that I personally dislike. It's okay. It's time to talk about keeps. Did you know that 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? The best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have hair left. Of course, that's if you want to. You're beautiful anyway. But I also love there being options for men who might feel insecure about this kind of thing. And Keeps does work to make it really comfortable. With Keeps, a licensed doctor will review your information online and recommend the right hair loss treatment plan for you. Then your treatment is shipped directly to your door every 3 months. You also have the option to message your Keeps doctor 24/7 with any questions or concerns you may have along the way, and track your progress with Keeps' progress tracking tool. So they really do get rid of any awkward doctor visits and make everything as comfortable and as informative for you as possible. Keeps also offers generic versions of the FDA-approved medications for hair loss, which makes it more affordable. Keeps treatments typically take between 4 to 6 months to start seeing results, so it's important to act fast, and the sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you can save. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and why hundreds of thousands of men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Alanah Pearce or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That is keeps.com/Alanah Pearce. And back to the video. Big Pumpy, nice, said, so I guess the question I have for you is, how do you feel about difficulty in video games? I know you like to involve yourself in a lot of abled gaming stuff, accessibility for the most people. That being said, do you think there's an argument to be made for difficulty being a part of the art of a game? Great question. The two things are not mutually exclusive. I feel like people misunderstand this a lot. I think difficult games are awesome. I love a challenge. I think that studios should continue to make really challenging, difficult games. If that is what they want to do, 100% do it. That's super cool. I like there being a niche for that. Even if it's not that niche, frankly, they are really popular games. The accessibility part of that is not asking for games to be easy. It's just asking for people with disabilities to be able to play them. What that means is that people with disabilities would also like to be able to play really hard games. So they're not asking for you to make the games easy. They are asking you to make it possible for them to play hard games too, because they also want to play hard games. So that's the point that I feel like people miss. People aren't asking for easy games. They're asking to be able to play hard games just as hard as they intended. For a very good example for that, is part of, what got me involved in caring about accessibility, is I have tendonitis in both of my wrists, and I can't play anything that's really button mashy. I had trouble with Battletoads, which does not have good accessibility options. That game is real mashy, and I had to ice my wrists after playing it. And I recently saw that the new installment of the Dark Pictures anthology has an easy difficulty setting. And what that difficulty setting does is reduce button mashing, which you could say, well, that's an easy mode. It's ruining the difficulty of the game. What it's actually doing is not removing the difficulty of the game. It's making it so that I can play that game now without pain. LL Cool J9 said, what's a common feature AAA games continue to use that you wish they'd drop? Mine's very specific to being a writer, and this is a pet peeve. And it's not necessarily a feature, it's just an occurrence. Something that drives me nuts is when writing is used to excuse gameplay. So for example, if something in a game is repetitive, the gameplay is repetitive, and then they make the lead character say, ugh, this again? It's basically a trick to make sure that players feel validated if they're annoyed. And so they're like, oh, the character acknowledged it though. But they said it, which means they knew it was repetitive. They knew, so it's fine then. And I'm like, no, it's just a writing trick. It's still repetitive gameplay. You can't just write that away. Even if it does seem like it works on a lot of gamers. They're like, but it said that in the dialogue. I'm like, they said that after the fact, not before the fact, to excuse the gameplay issue. So that's definitely something that I wish would go away. It's in a lot of games. They do it all the time. Cassim Jenkins said, question, do you know what's going on with these articles from game sites telling people not to get a PS5? And it is very weird. They tend to pop up right before a major PS announcement or state of play. Is there some bad blood between PlayStation folks and folks in the industry? I don't know what articles you're referring to. I think I've seen some tweets where people are like, I use my Xbox more than my PlayStation. I don't think it's weird at all that they pop up before a major PlayStation announcement or a state of play. I think that would make perfect sense. That is just a human having PlayStation on their brain and then being like, this thing made me think of PlayStation, so now I'm going to talk about PlayStation. There's no conspiracy. It's just those people's opinions. There's no grand scheme, grand picture, people paid off by Xbox thing that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Seeing some of that suggestion, because some people at IGN have been saying that they use their Xbox Series X more than their PlayStation, and people are like, this is paid off. God, every time I'm like, you have no idea how this works. If you don't disclose when you are paid to say something, which for the record, it is illegal to pay someone to say something they don't believe. So in any sponsorship that I've ever done, it's in their legal wording. You cannot say, every single one of them, you cannot say something you don't believe. You can say, here are the talking points for this product. Here's what they want me to say. But if you say, I feel this way and you don't feel this way, that is illegal. They are not allowed to tell you to say something you don't believe or you don't do. It is super illegal. But in any case, like with this conspiracy I've seen of people being like, oh, these IGN employees were all paid off to say they like Xbox. Without disclosing an ad, the fucking lawsuit that would rain down on Microsoft, there's no conspiracy. It's just people, just humans being humans, sharing opinions. Zach Strockman said, not shaming or anything, but more genuinely curious. But given your job and the way the industry works, I noticed you get a lot of stuff for free. Not as much as people think. Are there ever times when you feel awkward for getting a collector setter of a particular game, a PC component, etc. for free, when a typical consumer without their own platform would have to pay several hundreds of dollars for the same? Look, there are caveats to this. I have once before raised a question of, hey, if I'm getting this, why is it not available to the public? And the answer is like, we have marketing allocation. These are never able to be sold. It's like this whole insider business thing where me getting one does not really pertain to them being sold. But generally the answer is no, I don't feel weird about it because I've created something that is valuable. So I understand why, from a business perspective, these companies see value in using the thing that took me 10 years, 11 years almost now to create. Yeah, I think because of the insane hard work that I've put in that even got me to the point that I'm at, especially considering the amount of opportunities to quit, I don't feel weird about recognizing the value of what I've created, essentially. I do think there are some creators who can be really entitled, and I follow a couple of PR people on Twitter who talk about this stuff. Like, for example, I will only ever accept a game for free if I can get the game early. And the only reason that I will even take that is so that I can plan it around my content schedule. So if I can get a game early, because I still work full time, of course, I have other priorities and commitments. That means that I'm more likely to be able to schedule content around playing it because I have a few days of heads up. I can do it on the weekend or something. If a game comes out and I have not been able to get a code early, I'll just buy the game. I'll always be like, don't even send me a code. If I can't get it early, I'll just buy it. I have no need to get a free code. I'd prefer not to, frankly, unless I can get it early. Well, yeah, I've seen PR people on Twitter post like screenshots of some of the emails that they get from content creators who are like, hey, why won't you give me a free fucking code? Content goes so hard. It is disgusting that you're not giving me this benefit, where my approach is like, hey, if there's any chance I could get this early, that would be super helpful so that I can make content for people on the internet so I can plan it around my insanely busy schedule. But if not, it's cool. I'll just buy it. Thank you. Bye. So there are limits to that where people are assholes. But generally, no. If I get something for free, it's because I've created an asset that is very, very valuable to a company. That's all it is. You are welcome to start your own business and work for 11 straight years